Right. And Cal, whenever you're ready, if you wanted to chair the meeting, if you have the agenda in front of you, then please proceed.
Well, the good news is, hang on just a second. Okay, just give me a half a second, sorry.
No.
Okay, finally I got it. Actually, I didn't know I was going to be overseeing this meeting, but anyway, I'd like to call this meeting to order in recognition of the territories within the ACRD, the Youth nations that are around the area. All the attendees and delegates of this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the regional district website. And introductions of the committee members. Would you all individually like to identify yourself, starting with Ron McKinley?
Ron McKinley.
Ladies.
Jill?
Jill Maybach.
Ken?
Ken Lund.
And I don't see Terry. Is Terry here?
Not yet.
I don't know.
Okay. And staff members are Jenny?
Jenny Brunn, General Manager of Community Services.
And myself, Kel Roberts, Alternate Director for Area C. And first thing we need is an approval of the agenda. Do I have a mover for that?
I'll move.
Thank you, Ron. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Thanks very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Cheers. Thank you. Thank you. The next item is the minutes of the Salmon Beach Committee meeting held January 19th, 23. Have any comments or inclusions or deletions from that minutes of that meeting?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
I move we accept.
Thank you,
I
Ron.
second.
Thanks, Ellen. Delegations. We have Don Pardiak, automated external defibrillator system in Salmon Beach. Go ahead, Don.
Well, hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Don Pardiak. Along with my wife, Jody, we're owners at Salmon Beach up on 5th. And I'm also an airline pilot. Listened in on all your travel plans, and I'm happy for you. When we train, when we see something, we say something. And one of the things I see at Salmon Beach is the lack of medical coverage. And while I believe that most people probably have the basic first aid kit or probably even something slightly more advanced, but I don't see any automated defibrillators anywhere at Salmon Beach. So much so that I actually purchased my own at Costco. This to me is a loophole or a hole in our coverage that needs to be fixed. I pulled off the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Apparently every 12 minutes in Canada, somebody has a cardiac arrest event. Over 2,000 British Columbians die every year from cardiac arrests. And I can say as an ex-medevac pilot, if somebody had to be medevaced off Salmon Beach, you would likely not see a helicopter or any kind of coverage for at least 45 minutes to an hour. And I suspect you probably wouldn't see an ambulance in the same amount of time. According to the Heart Stroke Foundation, after about 12 minutes, the person will not recover and expire. To me, it's inevitable. I mean, it's not when or if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. When I posted this on Salmon Beach Swap and Shop back on September 12th, I had a Leanne Woods actually write me and her husband had a medical emergency, and it took the paramedics 45 minutes to get there. So you can imagine that in a cardiac event, 45 minutes, you're probably done for. So today I'm actually asking the Alberni Regional District to either fund these AEDs or help us get a rebate off our land taxes, for instance, help us buy them, or perhaps fully set them up and monitor them fully. Now, there is a private members bill, M216, introduced by MLA Shirley Bond from Prince George, and she's trying to get automatic defibrillators put into all public places, including places like the rec bar and our recreation center at Salmon Beach would all be covered under this bill. Now, it is a private member's bill. It's likely not going to see the light of day because the NDP are in charge, but that could change, or perhaps the NDP have a change of heart and want to bring this forward as well. When I purchased mine, was at Costco. It was about $1,500. When I talked to the company, they were called, I believe they're called Life Pack. They gave me some information, and essentially for the AED itself, it's about $2,500, and that covers not only the adult but the infant as well. So if we had a cardiac arrest in an infant or a child, say at the park, we'd have life-saving equipment for them. The cabinet that these things would be housed in are another $3,850. And these cabinets are pretty cool in the sense that they actually have an audible alarm that sounds if the cabinet's open. The cabinet takes a picture of the person that's opening the cabinet so that they can identify who's using it. And this thing will track the AED as well. So in case that somebody's got some nefarious reasons to take it, this thing can be recovered. So, there's really a lot of good technological developments out there. I don't think it's unreasonable to get some sort of coverage at Salmon Beach. When I talked to Leanne Woods, she mentioned that Sprout Lake actually has AEDs set up, and that, I believe, is in the Alberni Regional District. And so it got me thinking, well, if they can have it, why can't we? And that's about all that I have to say. I was thinking to myself where they would go, and I thought the boat launch, because we have the rec beach bar there, and when you're launching a boat or bringing a boat in, it's an exertion, and that could be a place where we have cardiac events. The rec center, and then I thought myself over by the big beach area, so that they have coverage there as well. The company I bought this from told me that you really need to have the AED on and going within 4 minutes for a successful recovery. But again, up to 12 minutes, and that person should be fine. The faster this happens, the faster the recovery, and the better the outcome. So again, I just want to thank you guys for hosting me, and I turn it back to you.
Thanks very much for that, Don. So I don't know where we want to start. Just for your information, I'm a retired firefighter, fire chief, and I was a paramedic. So we utilized AEDs quite a bit. We also had, when we had a full-time manager here that was involved, I believe she purchased an AED at some point, and the issue that we have come across is that there's not somebody there necessarily 24/7, because we're allowed to be there only a certain number of days in the year, and somebody could be there by themselves and have a cardiac incident, and there's nobody there to take care of it. So that's one of our issues. I don't know. Even our maintenance operations person that's out there, I don't know, is necessarily trained in first aid, but he is the on-site maintenance person who does all the mowing and whatever else we need in the pumping hall and so on and so forth. And he may not be there 24/7 either. So that's a problem. And where would we put it? Where would we keep it? And I understand where you are out by Big Beach area, but that can be a real issue. I mean, we can have one, and we did have one, and I think it's defunct. So I don't know. Does anybody else have any comments? Ellen? Yeah.
I'm muted. My questions are, do we need power for this?
My understanding is you do need power for this, and
Okay. Okay.
that would be an obstacle that we have to figure out. But if
Yeah,
it's a private, if you need power, I'm certainly willing to put my power up for grabs.
No, I just wanted, I mean, there's certain areas that there is power that could be used. The big question though is who is responsible for them? And that is, and in checking them, making sure that they're maintained, that becomes a liability issue. So that's one of the things. And I mean, liability is the biggest issue as far as I'm concerned for who's going to maintain them, because if they're not maintained properly and updated as they need to be, then they become obsolete. And that's what happened with the other one. Nobody maintained it. I mean, it was totally out of date. Batteries were dead, everything. So, and I understand, like, when we did have the manager here, when Kathy was the manager, we started this first aid type thing. And the reason that it went to the wind was the cost of her liability coverage for doing all those things. So that became part of the issue.
So maybe I can not counter per se, but engage in these points that you brought up. Cal, first you said right now we may not have anybody up at Salmon Beach to actually use these things on another person. Well, I'd argue right now that's the same thing. That's the same problem we have now. We don't have these up there, therefore no one can actually get them onto someone else. It's not the perfect solution, but it is a large portion of the solution. Salmon Beach, I know Adam, he's my neighbor, he's the manager. There's no reason why he couldn't get trained up and maintain those. He's very versed in many things. He's a very smart person. As far as responsibility, well, I mean, that might be something that comes into his field of responsibility. These things these days are very well maintained. Right now, this one here has a battery. The battery lasts for 5 years, and it is virtually maintenance free outside of that. Very simple. It actually even will just come on here and it'll
ready for use. In case of emergency, press the green on/off button.
And once you do that, it'll guide you through everything. It'll guide you through the paddles. It'll guide you through CPR. This is a device that is virtually maintenance free for up to 5 years. And after that, you're basically replacing the battery. So I'd submit those points to you for consideration.
Jill, go ahead.
I can't speak for everyone else, but I will say that the concept, is excellent, and I wouldn't believe there'd be anybody up there that wouldn't, in principle, support this. Dawn, I think in order for this to become a reality, we have to identify what the challenges are to that reality. I don't think that we're at the, money creating stage. I think where we might be at is in exploration and in good faith and in goodwill, and list down, what are some of the challenges? I've heard some here already, and I'm sure there are more. And with those challenges, we could write down or, decide, how are we going to solve these challenges? What is a workable? And that's going to give us a work plan on how this concept could become a reality at Salmon Beach. So,
okay, and I appreciate that. I will. Liability came up. As an airline pilot, I can tell you, safety is always number one, but we always think about liability as well. And I would also submit to you, what would happen if we had a cardiac arrest at Salmon Beach, and there was a fatality because of it. To me, there's a mixed responsibility between the owners and the ACRD. As far as I know, they own the roads. They likely own the rec center and also the boat launch area. So would that not be one of their areas of responsibility? And now that we've brought this up and we're talking about it, if somebody came back on this recording and said, hey, listen, these folks talked about it on December 14th and really didn't action this, would that not be an area of liability that they could go back on?
Well, Don, the thing that you have to realize at Salmon Beach, that every property out there is fee simple. It's not unlike living in a town, a small town or city or whatever.
Mhm.
If you need help, you call 911. And I appreciate the delay. And in fact, our previous manager that passed away may have suffered a cardiac event. And there have been cardiac events out there in the past. And, nobody knows what's going on. There's no central call number. And I appreciate what you're saying about having our maintenance man take this on, but as Jill has mentioned, there's going to have to be some exploratory work done on this, and I don't think I don't know that the budget's there for it, but we'd have to look at that for sure. No, I'm in favor of it, and I'm sure everybody else is, but clearly the issue is, where is it going to be kept? Who's going to be in charge of it, and what's going to be the availability? Go ahead, Jill.
I'm just wondering, Dawn, is there any thought to striking a committee that would have a look at some of these issues and then present for perhaps the May meeting some of the issues that we've talked about here and how they might be solved, and at least a skeleton plan for how it would work, so people can get an idea of how that flow would impact the people at Salmon Beach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know your guys' procedures or mechanisms, but I'm happy. I've chaired many committees in the past through the airline and the union I represent. I'm happy to take this on as well. I'll tell you one thing though, I hope if I do take this on, that the good faith that you're talking about will eventually come to fruition. One of the things I did hear was there was opposition from the ACRD over this, and I don't want to take this on and then run into that obstacle. So I'm just curious, will I face that? Is that something that if I take this on, would I face opposition from the ACRD or anything else?
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny, if you're there. Do
Yeah,
you want to
I
speak to
would,
this,
if you
please?
don't mind, Cal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I personally haven't expressed opposition, but the one thing I wanted to convey to the committee as well as Dawn was when the delegation was submitted, our administration team flagged this and said, oh, hey, just because of, the brief description, they said, if they're looking at this, what service would this belong to? So I'll do a quick explanation of what that question really means. Within a regional district, we provide services, but only through establishment bylaws. And so for Salmon Beach, we have the establishment of garbage, sewer, recreation, security, electric power distribution, because we funded that, garbage collection. And there was a water establishment as well. And so anytime that we're starting a new service, we need to get electoral assent in order to tax for that and pay for that service. That's just our process. So I think the question was, do we have elector approval to provide this service? Does it fit into an existing service? And if it doesn't, a new one would have to be established. So I think just administratively and government, the way our government structure is, that was raised as a flag. I think that's pretty valid because we can't do things like we can't just, we just decide to do things. Municipalities, believe it or not, actually can, but regional districts are very structured in the way that they do anything. So that was one of those things. I also wanted to comment, you mentioned that Sprout Lake has some of these AEDs. That may be true, and I think I might have heard of that, but I believe it might be the Recreation Association, which is an independent organization that might have purchased that and maintains it. So I'd have to do some research on that. I know we don't provide it as a service in Sprout Lake, so, but the Sprout Lake is in the ACRD. And I know there are these set up other places, but it's not necessarily a service that we have set up and provided. So I just wanted to give some more background to that.
Okay.
Okay, so thoughts? Ken, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Cal, I was thinking that, and Don, I appreciate what you've done, all the work you put into this. It is an idea that I think it was said before that I don't think anybody is totally against. It's just the a few little roadblocks or bumps on the road to get there. As you said, I'm thinking perhaps we should just turn this over to the regional district so that, I mean, you could form a committee and then, as you say, you might run into a brick wall. So maybe we just turn this over to the regional district, let them look into the ramifications. We have to figure out first, what all this is going to cost, where they can go, if there's power in any of these places, which I think there's only two. I think one would be the old admin building.
One at the gate, one at the admin.
And one at the admin. So that's a bit of a start, but I'm just sort of suggesting that turn it over to the regional district and then let them have a look at it. And when we know the costs and everything else, we can come back to the lot owners and either we can present it or Don, you can.
Sounds good. And I submitted a petition, speaking of lot owners. I hope you guys, it was an exercise in democracy, if anything. I just wanted to see what kind of support was out there. This is a passionate thing for me. I lost my father because of a cardiac arrest, and I would like to see people's lives saved and not put in peril.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
don't think you're gonna have too many people against it, honestly. It's just we need to figure out where they're going and the costs. Who's looking after them?
Okay.
Where's the money coming from too?
And where's the money
Good point.
coming from? That's the
Yeah,
big
well,
one.
that would have to go to a meeting, and it would have to be approved by the populace.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead, Jill.
Jenny, within our envelopes, do you see anywhere that it possibly could work through either security or recreation? Is
I
it?
would
it's-
have to double check with the administration group, the ledge services folks. I can't really comment on that because I looked through it and I'm not seeing it, but I'm not a legislative person. So we can ask for some better advice on that and see. I think the other thing too, I just wanted to, maybe I could ask, like, Dawn, you've done so much work on this. You're very passionate about it. I worry that this will end up being a low priority for staff, although it might be a higher priority for, say, the community or anyone here who wants to take that on or have the extra knowledge. Staff are happy to work on this and put together a stuff, and as well, like, especially on the legislative services stuff and stuff that only we can answer. But when it comes down to the logistics of how this might look in the community, I wonder if Dawn, you might actually, because you've started to do a lot of the work on this, and Ron, you live there and you know everything there as well. Perhaps if we could get some more information from some of the people in here to help us put together a costing report, and then we can work on what and how would be the options if we wanted to establish a service, roll it into an existing one. And then the only thing is, we absolutely want to be very transparent with the community that it is full cost. We've talked about capital cost and any other additional capital cost, and then just operating costs, what they really might be. I'm sure, again, people might not be opposed to this, but let's make sure that we are going to fund it appropriately, so that, because we have to be able to tax for it. So we also allocate within those bylaws exactly how much money we need. So we need to make sure we can raise the money to make sure that it doesn't just become a defunct unit that then is useless in the future. So those would be my
Right.
thoughts.
If I may too, there's the issue, Don, you mentioned Adam, and Adam may be willing to take this on, but from our point of view and from the regional district, it could be a contractual obligation. And so we have to look at that as well, and his training and so on and so forth. I know that the new type AEDs, like when you showed, are basically foolproof, but the issue is if we put it on Adam and he's not around and something happens, who's going to take it on, or who's going to be you know, I know the Good Samaritan Act covers a lot of ground as far as if you're doing something and you don't go beyond your training and something happens, you can't be held responsible for it. But on the other hand, I know we'd all feel pretty bad if something were to happen like that. So I think we can discuss it at our May meeting and maybe come to some kind of conclusion on it. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, but I think it's a worthwhile project for sure. Go ahead, Jill.
I just wonder if we can be clear on a first step. What, you know, from our discussion here, a first step. Jenny, you're going and asking the question in conjunction with Dawn, maybe listing some of the challenges that he's heard here and beginning to work through a possible presentation that could be presented to staff. Jenny, is that sort of our first step here?
I think the most important first step, because we can give you options, we will find out what the options are for you. If you want to do this, we can make this happen. I think the key is finding out what the costs are going to be, the capital cost, like of where you would like this. If you want a thing, what is the full cost of that? And then the operational costs.
So that on a committee from Salmon Beach to you would be a first step then?
Yes, I think working with Dawn to figure out the details of what this would cost. Then we can look at different options for creating a service for you. Then you could go to the community and ask them if they want this or not.
Okay, that sounds good. So for the committee, what direction do you want to go? Do you want to hold this off until May? It's a May meeting, or do you want to have a get together at some point? Ellen, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've got to do it as fast as possible to have the presentation for the May meeting.
Sure.
So we need to know from the ACRD, first of all, if it's feasible. I mean, cost-wise, it's the whole tax dollars thing. Where's it coming from? So that litigation part, that's Jenny's baby. Dawn has obviously already priced this to a certain extent, which sounds like he's up on that. So we can get the pricing. We have Ron that can tell us what it's going to cost us. I mean, there are 2 spots. The third one for the boat launch, there's no power there. So that would be possibly talking to one of the neighbors down there. But okay, Ron, what?
Well, unless somebody down there is going to supply power, you're not going to get power at the boat launch.
Yeah, I know that. But I mean, there are 2 feasible places right now that are on ACRD property that have power.
Yes.
So, and it's probably not a lot of power would be used to run these things.
No.
So, and it would be easy to set them up too, like, right? Ronald?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be I can't see any issues putting one at the gate and one at the tennis courts at the Seacan. They're quite easy to do that.
I mean, certainly a waterproof box could be mounted on the Seacan with power to it and have the AED stored in that.
Well, he was talking about the cabinet that they come in. Those are, I believe, those are like climate controlled in the whole 9 yards.
They are, yeah.
Yeah,
They're self-contained waterproof units.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I think I mean, if Don can give us exact costs, I mean, which he has, power's easy. I think the biggest thing right now will be Jenny finding out whether we can have an envelope for this to go in, or if it will be feasible in any of the envelopes we already have, which would be great. And just kind of figuring out we already have power that we're paying for at those other spots. So this is probably not going to raise the bill that much. And then it's who's going to be looking after them. Like, I mean, obviously it's checking them bi-yearly, whatever. And because there is an alarm and everything, so, and where they're at, they can be checked that they are there. So, and then it would be talking, I mean, the most feasible person would be Adam, but he's under contract, so it's his insurance. So he would have to look into what, for himself, the liability of that and whether he wants to be responsible for these. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So those, I think, are the things that we need to look at. So
Right. Thanks, Ellen. Go ahead, Jim.
And I just wanted to say, I think that just for clarity, because I think it's a little vague as we're talking about this, I think Adam could maintain an AED. I would never, ever ask him or want to enter into a
Sure.
contract with anyone to be obliged to provide medical services. So we are just talking about maintenance.
That's a great.
Just
Yeah.
I'm
maintain.
talking maintenance only. I'm not, the expectation
Yeah.
is not for him to be the one that gets called for this. This is
Agreed.
to have them here. They sound like they're very easy to use, self-explanatory. So you'd be able to go up there, open it up, take it out, use it. And yeah, that's.
They are very self-explanatory. I mean, they come with a how to use a guide. That you push the button, the machine analyzes whether it's going to deliver a shock or not. I mean, it's a very foolproof system.
Okay.
So I like that. Discussion, and I think what we should do is the committee should get together with Dawn, come up with a program that you would like to see in place with costs associated and so on and so forth. And then I would be happy, or Vida when she's back, because she's a nurse. But I would be happy to bring it to the regional district through Jenny, and then we can see where we can go from there. I think it's a great idea. I really do.
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay, the other thing you need to know, though, this will not happen until 2025, not 2024.
Well, let's hope
Because
we
of the
never need it to
budgeting.
save lives, but 2025 is better than never.
If
You
it's
never know
gonna
when-
happen, it'll be 2020. I don't, unless we can get it done. Well, we can't get it done before budget. So,
No, we're going to
It
hear
would-
about a budget here shortly. So
Yeah.
and there may be an opportunity to get private funds as well. So
well,
we
then
can
that would
have a
make
look
it sooner.
All right.
But if we need to use to budget it, it'll be 2025.
All right. Well,
Okay,
thanks.
so
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And if you
thanks.
get a hold of, go ahead, Ron, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm willing to work with Dawn on getting pricing and figuring out where they can go and have a number that we can have ready for the May meeting type of thing.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks,
Be
Don.
happy to work with you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Cheers.
Okay, guys. Thanks for everything you do, and I'm going to sign off now and let you continue on the meeting. And I appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dawn.
Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Cheers.
Take care.
Okay, that's pretty worthwhile. And thanks again, Dawn, for that. The next item on the agenda is the 2024 budget process. Jenny is going to give us an update on that. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you. And I love Ellen's so smart budget comment, because it is true. We are working on budget right now, and we will be back to talk about the budget on our next committee meeting. We are trying to get better about scheduling meetings in advance. So we have tagged a meeting for Salmon Beach for March 14th, which fits really well into our financial planning process. So every year we are doing our financial planning process. We do a very draft plan, which is presented to Committee of the Whole. And then, of course, we go to all the committees. We will be coming to see you guys to show you what we've put together as well. And then we are scheduled to hopefully have adoption for March 27th. So at this point, it is hard to get anything onto the agenda, and it is always better to plan ahead. And so we can work on something like this for next year. Some of the key items that we will be working on as we draft that budget together is for Salmon Beach is going to be the CCAN roof structure, as well as the gazebo roof issues and doing some gazebo upgrades. working on the compound, the waste management and fencing area and making some improvements to that, hopefully. And we might see some impacts, we might not, but there may be some impacts as far as ditching, road work, and we've heard that the floating dock, we had the volunteer who was doing that who no longer will, so we have to look at potential costs associated with that to actually have a contractor address that. So we've gotten feedback from Ellen, and we will continue to work on the budget as we do every year. For us, the goal is always to kind of keep things the same for Salmon Beach as far as pricing goes, so that there's almost no impact. We have a small increase that we build into all of our budgets, which is to incorporate inflation. And so even in last year's 5-year budget, we had a 3% increase scheduled for all of the services in Salmon Beach. And so far, everything looks to be on track, and I don't have any major issues that is concerning me right now. But we will be diving into budget, and hopefully we will have Eddie back to help with that because he is really well up to date on that. So I do anticipate seeing him again in the new year in the office.
Okay. Alder and ditches, are we going to be, I talked to Adam about it the other day, and he was also talking to Al and looking at probably raising that budget so that they get maintained better than they are. I'm assuming that's because the alders are a problem. I understand Al has bought himself a new toy that will take down some of these alders a lot better, or at least do a better job. So because there are some areas, and Adam did say that that they went around and determined what areas and stuff. And I think I probably has talked to Eddie, or not sure, but he was keeping Eddie in the loop of what's happening. So I'm assuming that budget might be going up a bit. Okay.
Ron, do you have a comment? No?
No.
Just scratch your face, or okay.
Just scratching
Okay.
my face,
Okay.
scratching the dog.
Okay. That's that one. I have a few things. Sewer truck coming soon?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Ellen?
Sewer truck coming soon?
Oh, yes. I did have that scheduled for the operational update, which is the next item on the list.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I'm going to hold off on the.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, the only couple other things that we were looking at was hopefully in the future recycling, but I know that's kind of up in the air still. And future plan for our sewage is, are we going to be talking to Macoa at all? I mean, we have what, 18 years left on our lease. I mean, yes, our lease could be renewed, but should we be talking to Macoa about future, whether it'll ever be feasible for us to dump there? So that's.
When we renewed the license, I was working on it at that time. Was that 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago for the land?
2 years.
I discussed that with them and asked them about that as an option. And of course, because we're always having challenges with, capacity and meeting the demand. Yeah. One of the challenges that they have is they do not have the capacity to take loads, external loads. That doesn't mean they couldn't build it in, like it's just a tipping, basically what do you call it? Where an RV would dump.
Dumping station.
A pumping station. Okay.
So,
Dumping.
yeah, apparently right now it can only take the material in through the discharge pipe from their collection network. And so that would require an upgrade. And we would have to obviously work on the numbers, but in theory, it does look like a smart and good potential solution, right? Because they're relatively close. It does depend on what their community build out looks like and how much capacity they need to retain for themselves on that treatment plant. And then there would be, of course, tipping fees for dumping there, but it's not off the table, I wouldn't think. But also right now, I would say that you guys have made some significant investments in your community septic system, right? In the field upgrades, as well as going to type 3. And my understanding when we did that land renewal was that, you know, good or bad, that land really is very well suited for what it's doing right now, and to remediate that to another purpose would take a lot. So I don't know that there is a will or interest to change the use of the property of your community septic, even in 20 years. And I don't foresee that changing. So I don't know if your current situation is a bad one, if that makes sense. I don't know if we have to worry too much about that future changing.
Okay, but it's nice to know that you have talked to them about this. So, okay, thank you.
Just for a heads up, and I'm sure you're aware of this, one of the things that McCoa has done, and you know they're going to be running power lines out to Secret Beach. They've also got water lines and sanitary line going out there. So that for sure will be utilized to pump back into their system. And I know that system there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, is capable of handling 5,000 residential units. So yeah, that's what I understand. So I don't think in the future that it may be out of the realm of possibility, but I do agree with what you're saying, Jenny, that you know, we've got a terrific system going now, and you know, I understand we may be getting a new septic truck here pretty quick, and therefore we'll be in good shape for a while. So thanks for that. Anything else, Ellen?
No, I think that's no, that's it. I think, Ken, did you have anything?
I don't think so. I think that pretty answers. I mean, I think most of the stuff I was concerned about has already been included in the budget regarding the, you know, the
Alders?
dump site and the gazebos and those repairs. So that's fine. Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Jill, you had a comment or your
A
hand raised?
couple of things. I just wanted to say, I think the interior roads are just the best they've ever been. Maybe not all of them, but you know, some of the main areas, I'm not sure what that surface cover is, but it's really nice. The other, pardon me?
Except at the bridge.
Yeah, well, we're getting there though. The land that the current septic system is on, as it relates to remediation, Jenny, you mentioned that land belongs to the First Nations. So any remediation that they would have for it in the future would be their prerogative. Is that right?
I'd have to pull up the license. I think more my intention with that phrase was just that I think that usually, like when you have something like a landfill or a septic field, the best use, like as long as it's not causing environmental impacts outside of its area,
right?
It should stay being that for as long as possible, because then once you stop, the time between when you end that and when it becomes useful for something else is a very long period of time. Which
doesn't really, that's not, we can affect that, not because it's not our land. And the other thought that I had, you mentioned a pumping station. The system that's there now at the end of the road, it requires a pumping station. And I know that this isn't short-term concern whatsoever, but my thought was, or my curiosity was, how much is a pumping station? And is there at some point in time a possibility to collaborate with the First Nations and say, you know, Salmon Beach can possibly look at collaboration with you on supplying the pumping station or the funds, and then we have a partnership there. And I know that there's no urgency, but in the longer term, it might be a question we could ask.
Sure. Carrie Graff, go ahead.
Sorry for being late, by the way. Have we talked about buying that property off McCoa? Is that a possibility?
I don't think that there's interest in that.
Okay.
Not when we were discussing it 3 years ago. The interest is to continue to lease the land or license it to us.
Okay, thank you.
And Makoa, the Tokot Nation, is not interested in moving us out of there because part of the agreement, as we know, is that if they do or want us to move someplace else, they're going to have to foot part of the bill for it. So I don't think they're interested in us moving anywhere anytime soon. Go ahead, Ken.
I think, Cal, that if they pull out before the lease is up, if the lease expires, then I think we could be on our own.
Sure. No, I understand that. Yeah, for sure.
It's
Anyway.
definitely not something we can just close our eyes to. We have to watch a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, any other comments or questions? Okay, Jenny, what else have you got for us?
Okay. Next item on the
Christmas?
agenda is the operations update. So I don't have too much to update you on. I did want to hear how you felt about the roads. I've already heard, so I'm glad to hear that, because obviously you guys know better than I do that the majority of the work that was planned for this year has been done, and that's been great because I know you guys have been waiting for that for a very long time, and you can thank Eddie and Al for the work on that, not me. I'm showing up to the meeting and I get to hear the good news that you guys are enjoying it. So that is lovely. The other good news, which again, I should not be the one delivering this news, is that your truck might be here in our parking lot by Sunday.
Oh, nice.
This has taken a long time. We issued the purchase order in April and we had to get the truck, and then there was something called a PTO, which is a very important part. We don't want the truck without it. And it took a very long time for it to come in and for them to install it. And so we just had like 3-week delay after 3-week delay after 3-week delay. And so I've been getting emails once a week lately on like, well, we think we're so close. So they've said now Sunday is our newest ETA. We have to put on the insurance, do an inspection, get it together. But it's possible you guys might have a Christmas present arrive in
Whoa.
Adam will be thrilled.
Yeah. Just for your information, Jenny, PTO is power takeoff, and that's what drives the pump for the system. And we all know what ETA is, and hopefully it's going to be before Christmas. So that's awesome. As far as the roads are concerned, yeah, they're operational. Everything looks good. I don't know if they've deposited any material down on Front Street or not. We'll find out pretty quick here. I'd like to see some of the other streets, like the end of 6th Avenue where we live. Completed.
We got a ditch last year.
What's happening? Your road's
Still, I
good.
mean, there's still
Never
piles
got
of
a
it
ditch.
there, so there's more happening.
Anyway, it's all looking good. When we were out there the other day, it was looking pretty good, and yeah, the road base is superb. So, and that's a crushed asphalt and gravel mix. So there's still big piles of it there in front of the where we dump all the leaves and the garbage and that. So it's going to be really nice to see everything completed. And of course, it will probably eliminate our dust control in the summer. So that's awesome too. I don't know. Is there anything else, Jill? You got your hand up, or?
No, not my hand up.
Okay.
I know.
There's a couple of spots need a little bit of touch up, but that's,
Yeah.
I'm sure Al will get that.
Yeah,
Good.
Looks great.
Anyway, yeah,
it's still a lot better than it was.
absolutely.
Heck of a lot better.
And in talking to the ministry, my contact there, they're going to be doing, and I mentioned before, a lot more improvements on the back road. In fact, when we were there the other day, as we're pardon?
No, sorry.
As we were coming in from the Port Albion Road, I ran into the grader operator and had a chat with him, and he said that he was going to do that other short stretch out to the Port Albion Road graded for us, which was the worst condition I've ever seen it.
Oh.
The forestry says they're going to be continuing to do upgrades. They put in new culverts on that road, and also continuation of the project where they re-and-read the road in that 4 or 5 K section, and they're going to continue the whole thing and upgrade the road right out to a Secret Beach. So over the next few years, we're going to be looking at some pretty good improvements out there. That's all awesome. Any other comments? Terry Graff first. Go ahead.
Yep. Because I live on Front Street at the end and it's called a driveway, but it's not really because everybody and their dog uses that road. Does it not get maintained by the ACRD like everything else? And why wouldn't it if people use it?
It's a private drive. They're not supposed to use it.
But people do, people do.
I know, but that's your problem, not everybody else's. I'm sorry, but I'm honest about it. It is a private
Okay,
entrance.
well, let's hear from somebody else.
Well, yeah, I will speak to that, Terry. So it will depend. If it is within the road right of way that is part of the ACRD service for roads, then that's within our service area that we provide. If people are trespassing on the private property and it is a driveway, we have this in other rural areas as well, and it's unfortunate. And you can do things as a private homeowner to prevent and reduce that. Like you can put up barricades or signage and things like that. But I can understand that that's probably frustrating, and I'm sorry to hear that.
And my other concern is because Front Street is actually supposed to be there, but because it was up on the bank, it never happened. And instead they ran a driveway through and called it a driveway. And really it's Front Street. People use it like a continuation of the road.
It really depends if it's within the road right of way or not. Like, so
How do we find out?
with a map, we
Look at the map.
Okay.
I think part of it is road right away. I don't know how far down it goes, but if there's materials left over, I don't see a big deal. But that's to be discussed, and we'll deal with it once we check it out. So Jill, you had your hand up.
I was just going to ask for an update on the playground and also the Airbnb conflict.
Okay. What exactly about the playground? And sorry, again, I'm stepping in for Eddie here. So we did do the pea gravel replacement, not this past year, but the year before. I think we do have some money in the capital plan in the future for doing some more playground work. But I talked with Michael, we were talking about all our playground inspections, and he said that Salmon Beach Playground is in, like, there's no safety concerns from his perspective. So that's a good. Is there anything else about the playground maybe I'm not aware of?
No, I don't know why I thought there was another upgrade or something, Ellen.
It was on because when they did that report on all the things that was owned in the ACRD, it was flagged to be replaced in 2025. But now we have a playground inspector person who's looked at it. So every year it gets switched over until we have to replace it. So it's on 2026 right now, but it could get pushed back. They could keep pushing it back as long as there's no safety concerns. So that's where we sit. So.
And what was
playgrounds have an expected lifespan. And so they just actually, what they do is they get flagged. So if it's been in for 20 years, at the 20th year, they get flagged that they should be looking at it. But if it's inspected, like they say, it all meets the CSA approvals, it could stay for another 20 years.
Okay, thank you. The other was the Airbnb, Jenny, conflict.
That's definitely mostly a planning issue. And I did talk with Alex a couple weeks ago and I asked how things were going, and he said that he hasn't heard any, like, I think that he said that he hadn't heard anything recently about Airbnbs because they are responding on a complaint basis, so that we aren't hearing anything. If there are concerns, I can follow up on that. Is there anything?
Yes, there was one in court, and we haven't heard the outcome of that.
Okay, so this is the court case for a past issue.
Yes.
Okay.
Or we're not sure if it's passed because as a new season, well, I guess there's going to be problems in May with having Airbnb on another level, but I wasn't sure whether that was concluded through a court case or it's still ongoing.
Okay. If you can send me the property, not here, but privately, if you can email me the property address, I can follow up with planning.
Sure.
Perfect.
Terry?
Yeah, I also heard from another lot owner about an Airbnb. It's not Airbnb, it was something else, but it's a vacation rental. And I think it was on 4th or 5th, on the corner there. It's advertised online. So what would, that person was very concerned about it. What do they have to do? Do they have to just, because in the past we've emailed the ACRD and said, hey, we know this is happening. It's online, there's date. And that wasn't good enough. So what do people need to do if they want to complain other than just writing a letter?
Send me an email if you are aware of another one as well, or any of the Airbnb ones, and let me follow up and find out for you with plan.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's on the corner of 5th, Terry.
Jenny, your bylaw enforcement officer has an enormous file on this property that I'm referring to in phase 3.
Okay.
I think it probably would be easier for you just to refer to that file rather than have us try and dig up their legal description. It's been ongoing for a long time.
Yeah, if you, just for my benefit, if you know the address, send it to me and then we'll be clear which one we're talking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Any further updates, Jenny?
Unfortunately, no. Just wishing everyone a happy Christmas and New Year.
Right
You
on.
too.
And also, just to let everybody know, Wendy Thompson is retiring as of Friday is her last day.
Oh,
Yeah, and she's been a big help to us over the years, and
Yeah.
so it was really nice yesterday to get together with staff, and Wendy was presented with a lovely silver engraved bracelet through local First Nations, and the staff paid for that. So it was very nice. We had a nice get together and a chat, and she wished everybody well, and we wished her well as well. So that was awesome. Good time, wasn't it, Jen?
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So
Quick question, Kel,
Yes.
you sent us a text yesterday about those, our little gifts from the ACRD. So you have them all at your place then? Because I was gonna pick up.
and
So I
having
don't
to-
need to stop there.
No, you don't. That's why I sent it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll be testing them all just before you know.
Ah.
These are lovely. This is from the staff and
Oh, nice.
director.
wow.
So, pretty
Those
cool.
are nice.
Thanks
Yeah.
ever so
Thank
much.
you.
Could we get a quick motion to for the reports? To move and
Absolutely.
second them?
Thanks, Wendy.
Sorry.
Do I have a motion to
I'll
accept
motion.
the reports as presented? Thank you, Ellen. Seconder?
I'll second.
Ron, thank you. Any other comments or questions? And with that,
Oh, wait, sorry. I've been told that
Oh.
I have to ask this question. Wendy,
Go
do we
ahead.
have any comments from the public online?
oh, sorry, yes.
No, we do not. Thank you.
Okay. That should
I
be
move
it.
we adjourn.
Ron,
Merry
I
Christmas,
second
all.
that.
Thanks, Wendy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jenny. And
Thanks, Jenny.
mo-
You guys have a
motion
good
adjourned.
Christmas.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Merry
Thank
you, you as
Christmas to
well.
All of you.
everybody.
Cheers.
Thank
Very
you.
Motion to
good.
adjourn?
Cheers. I already did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Ellen
All right,
second.
there you go.
I seconded it. Okay.
Happy
All those in
ho-ho.
favor?
Merry Christmas, everybody. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.